public hearing is now called to order at 6 p.m. on May 8th, 2024. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Fairhaven Neighborhood News on May 2nd. It was also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. This meeting is being recorded and will be on the Acushnet YouTube channel for future viewing pleasure. First order of business, minutes for approval, January 24th, 2024. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I didn't have an issue with them. Anybody?
No. Motion to approve is submitted.
There's a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to old business. Continued public hearing, ANRAD, Ray White, 211 Middle Road, SC file number 0010591. An abbreviated notice of resource area delineation was filed by Ray White for property located at 211 Middle Road, map 23, block 29, 29A, 29B. The applicant is represented by Megan Kearns of Weston Sampson Engineers Incorporated. The plan name is Existing Conditions Plan dated November 2023, revised March 18th, 2024. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion
So
open.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Megan Kearns? She here? Megan?
She asked for a continuance.
She asked for a continuance. Okay, so Bill, do you want to update the commission on the peer review process?
Sure, I can do that.
All right.
We've been engaged by, just for the public's benefit, we've been engaged by the town. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering, and we've been engaged by the Conservation Commission to review the ANRAD that was submitted on behalf of Ray White at 211 Middle Road. I've been in contact with Megan, and we've discussed the wetland flagging that was conducted out there. We've also conducted a site inspection of the flagging stations that exist in the field. We came up with an initial memo based on our first walkthrough of the site, and we noted in a form of a memo that I delivered to Megan. I think I maybe was a little late in shipping it off to Conservation Commission members, but it outlined the major things that we saw on the plan that needed to be addressed in our opinion. Other than the 5 items that we talked about, it looked like everything else was pretty good on the property. We didn't really have too many questions relative to that. But the gist of it all is that there were some wetland flags that were missing in the field, and I think it was due to mowing or field maintenance or something along those lines. Didn't really have any issue with that, but we just suggest that the applicant have those flags placed in the field so that we can review them, the commission can review any changes as opposed to what was originally placed in the field. There's a couple of areas. One of them, I don't have the plan in front of me, so there's just an area between the D and the E wetland flagging that looks to be a BVW as well, and we've encouraged the applicant to readdress that area and provide additional flagging that may be needed, and provide that on a plan and move on from there. In an additional manner, there's another area in the B series wetland flag that those areas needed to be looked at a little more closely as well. We think that there's a little bit more BVW than may be indicated on in the field and on the plan. So we're looking for that to be updated. And just as I'll interrupt the discussion just a little bit. I was talking to Megan about that. We were attempting to get out there this Thursday to revise some things. I don't think it's going to happen this week. We're going to put it off until within the next week or so. So we'll have them readjust wetland flagging and we'll go out there and assess what they have placed in the field, additional flags that they've placed in the field. There's also another area of buffer zone that we've suggested to them that they add some additional flags. They didn't put the additional flags out there when they went back to the field, so we haven't relieved them of that obligation that we feel necessary to truly get the goal is to understand the wetlands that exist on the site and present them in a manner acceptable to the commission. So they need to get out there and do that. We need to review that. We also had another area that same type of thing. There's an area in the field that exhibited wetland characteristics as far as vegetation goes. We went out there, augured some holes, test pits, superficial test pits. They indicate some hydric soils, so that was proving out to us that that wetland line needed to be pushed a little bit further out into the field, and that remains to be done. And then I think there was another area of the site that was a little difficult to get to in the northerly end that was maybe a little thick on vegetation, and we asked for some additional flagging to be conducted in those areas, and that has yet to be done as well. But for the most part, they did go back out, they did look at what we presented them as far as our initial memo, and we're still in the process of just ironing out the final flag locations in the field, and then once those are done, we'll likely meet with them and with Megan in the field and approve it, or at least agree that the delineation as presented is accurate. So that's what's going on Middle Road right now. I wasn't aware that Megan was going to continue tonight. We did talk about putting the meeting off for 2 more weeks to give time for both groups to modify the line, review the line, and get it in its final perspective for the commission's approval.
Excellent.
And that's pretty much where we are with that one. But anything other than the 5 points that we had, there was no issue with any of the other resource areas delineated on the plan.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. And I'm here too, just to introduce myself, Zach Farkas. I'm hired by the Whites to work on the development side of the project. And so, yes, Megan's down here. We're saving her the ride, but I'm here to answer any questions as well. I don't have any commentary to Bill's summary. That's exactly what's going on. We're going back out to adjust some of the flagging per GAF's suggestions, and then we'll memorialize all that in an updated plan, send that back over to Bill, and once we finally are in agreement, we'll come back and present to you guys formally.
So you guys are okay with continuing to the next meeting, and then we'll hear it out from you?
Perfectly, yep.
Okay.
Could we get something a little larger? Yeah.
Full-size plans?
Yeah.
No problem.
We go out to site again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Is there anybody from the public that has any questions, comments on this
Well, I
project?
don't know what that abbreviation is. What's that mean to us? J or G, whatever?
GAF is the name of Bill's company. When
Okay.
Bill goes out, or when we go back out to make the adjustments per Bill's company's recommendations, we'll then meet again in the field to make sure everyone's in agreement that the flags are in the right place, meaning the wetland lines are in the right place, and then finally we'll come back to the commission. The goal of the ANRAD process is to establish where the wetlands are, and then once that's all agreed upon, we can determine whether or not developable area is enough to continue.
Yeah, so Bill Madden is, he is the engineer that's working for us. He's making sure that everything's on the up and up for the commission, and with his blessing, we'll make a decision based on his recommendation.
And makes that decision, we all do, or just?
She took the podium and she's going to talk and they didn't know her name.
Folks, if you got a question or comment, we would appreciate it if you could go up to the podium, state your name, and we'll go from there. Please, thank you.
All right, so for Middle Road, I'll entertain a motion to continue to our next meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, continue to May 22nd. Okay, new business, public hearing, ANRAD, Rewild Renewables, 1094 Main Street off Clems Way, SE file number 001-0592. An abbreviated notice of resource area delineation was filed by Rewild Renewables for property located at 1094 Main Street off Clems Way, map 7, lot 15. The applicant is represented by Andrew Gorman of Beals and Thomas Incorporated. Plan name is abbreviated notice of resource area delineation prepared for Rewild Renewables dated March 25th, 2024. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Andrew Gorman from Beals and Thomas here on behalf of the applicant. Also with me this evening is Zachary Farkas on behalf of the applicant. We are seeking an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation in OLAN to confirm the wetland boundaries on this parcel at 1094 Main Street, otherwise known as off Clems Way. We had the fortune of having a site walk this past weekend with the Commission. And what I would like to do is introduce you to the property from a west to east orientation, go through the wetlands. And we do have the fortune of having the first round of peer review scrutiny. So I'm going to talk about some of those recommendations as we go through. So this site has multiple wetland resource areas, bordering vegetated wetlands, isolated vegetated wetlands. There's a perennial stream, an intermittent stream. On the westernmost side of the property, we have a perennial stream with a north-south orientation. That's what we take to cross into the site. There are multiple bordering vegetated wetlands connected to this. We have our large B and D series here, which extends to the easterly portion of the property. We see a portion of it also bifurcates the site here, this little finger-like projection. Actually, one of our first peer review comments is related to this area close to the stream, related to the BVWs. Something that we're looking at is whether or not these two protrusions connect. The Commission may recall there's kind of a depression there with some wetland grasses between the two, so we're going to be looking at whether or not these two features connect. As we move further east, there is that intermittent stream which is perpendicular to the perennial stream. It runs from the west to the east to the west of the property. That is represented by our solid blue bank flags in the field. So that's our J series here and our N series over here. Proximate to that intermittent stream, we also have a bordering vegetated wetland which protrudes off of it but does not connect to this BVW. And then we also have an isolated wetland over here just to the north of it. Another area that we're looking at as part of the peer review process are the J flags. So that's about the central portion of the property. There are about 2 or 3 flags in there where there's some sensitive fern and some other hydrophytes that are kind of escaping the wetland line a little bit. So we're going to try and look at that and refine our assumptions to see if any changes need to be made over there. The Commission may recall when we were out in the field in the easterly portion of the property, there was an isolated vegetated wetland flagged over here. As this B and D series continues over, one of the peer review comments we received is whether or not this isolated feature is connected to this larger BVW, so that is something that we're investigating. The Commission may recall some of those spike grasses, the rushes that were between these two features, so that's something that we're looking at. And then as we continue further east, we have the start of our B series, which is up here in the northerly, easterly portion of the property, extends along this logging road, and then we have a portion of the southerly wetland flag with our C series here. And the final peer review comment that we have to date involves looking at the connectivity between those two. So as we continue to undergo the scrutiny of the peer review process, that's something that we're going to be looking at, but ultimately what we're seeking to accomplish here is an ORAD, an Order of Resource Area Delineation, simply confirming that the boundaries are accurate for regulatory purposes. I would love to open it up to comments and questions.
Anybody from the Commission?
I got a phone call. I'm not supposed to get too hard on anybody, so I'm just gonna sit back and shut up.
Too hard on anybody?
That's what you told me.
Well, I said on Andrew about the other issues that are on site. We're talking about the wetland flagging.
I don't know. I shouldn't get a phone call to tell me how to act before a meeting.
Okay.
Happy to answer questions about the wetland delineation.
Any questions on the wetland delineation? Anybody from the public?
Well, you're reviewing what Bill sent you, right? And you're gonna change it according to Bill or work together with Bill to go with that?
So I sent Bill an initial response that we're investigating, and we haven't had further back and forth at that point, but The commission will be in receipt of revised plans and be copied on all of that back and forth. So the 4 areas, and I'll certainly let Bill speak for himself too, should the commission wish it, but we're looking at those critically. We just, again, this is the plan as it was submitted, so there's likely going to be another iteration that you see prior to any issuance or closing the hearing.
Deborah Perry, I live on the property abutting this property, 1122 Main Street. So I just have basically 3 questions. One is that you're talking about connectivity. So I know that when we've had flooding in the past, that property has completely flooded and gone through the entire section beside my house, all the way up to the actual buildings beside the property. So it has been like, and I have photos of it where it's become literally like a lake going from the brook that runs beside us, like a crazy stream. It becomes like a river and runs all the way up to the house or whatever that property is up from us, like a total swimming pool basically. So in terms of connectivity, I don't know what that means. There are animals that are living in that brook. There's and I sent pictures of some of them. I don't have all of them, but there are dogs, ducklings. There's a river otter that's living in there. There are great horned owls that live out there. So all kinds of animals living out there, a lot of vegetation, obviously, which you already know. There was land clearing going on there without permits that we had to call the police about already. So, or I called the police about already. So my concern is that everything is going to go by the rules, and that there's not going to be anything done without proper permits, and things are not going to be done without being followed by the rules, proper rules. My concern is, I'm all about taking care of the environment. If this is going to be something that's good for the environment, I think that's great. But if it's not good for the environment, if it's not going to be good for the wetland protection act that's already in place and it's going to cause harm, then that's a concern that I do have. I don't know where the proposed solar farm is going in over there. I don't know exactly where it's going in. This kind of stuff doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand when I look at that where that's actually going in. Certainly if it's going to be a positive thing, then I'm all for that. But those are the things that I'm most concerned about and that I want to make sure are followed up properly with the Conservation Committee. And I will fight to make sure that that happens. So that's my only concern. I'm all about supporting it if it's going to be a good thing. But those are the concerns that I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with questions, comments?
She had questions that can be addressed, or?
Yeah.
Would you please address the connectivity that she...
So some of the questions, like proposed development, they're outside of the scope of what we're trying to achieve with the ANRAD. However, the questions about connectivity and flood zone, I'm happy to talk about a little bit more. We have in addition to the resource areas that we're looking to confirm as part of the ANRAD, being the Federal Emergency Management Agency, they map the 100-year floodplain, and under the Wetlands Protection Act, that's regulated as bordering land subject to flooding. And we show that here on our plan as a Zone A. So again, this is independent of the flags that we're looking to confirm.
So where's actually Main Street on there? I'm sorry.
So, sorry, Main Street is here.
Okay.
Yep. So what, I'm going to trace the flood line, the Zone A here with my pen. This is what's regulated as bordering land subject to flooding under the Wetlands Protection Act. And should a proponent, no matter what the development is, we don't know, If somebody wants to do work in the floodplain, they usually have to do something akin to compensatory flood storage. But again, the ANRAD is not looking at any work right now. The permit that we're seeking is to confirm the accuracy under the scrutiny of third-party review that what we've observed in the field is accurate. But again, so there is a protected flood zone here that is on the westerly portion of the property that is separately regulated under the Wetlands Protection Act. So that's the Zone A here. Yep. So that is a separate resource area.
So in terms of distance from that stream, what are you talking for that line you were just pointing out? Relative to...
So it meanders, and it meanders based on the topography.
Like an average?
Yeah, well, I honestly cannot give you a good average because on the northerly portion, it hugs that stream, this dotted dashed line here. The flood zone is right up against that delineation of the perennial stream, whereas here it bucks out, and this is the 100-foot buffer zone. It almost extends 100 feet off of it, and then it continues southerly until it bends back around at this culvert here. So again, that's based on available FEMA mapping, that Zone A. There's no elevation assigned to it currently, but that is bordering land subject to flooding under the Wetlands Protection Act, so thank you for the question.
Any other questions, comments?
Somebody else is going.
Donnie Williams, 1150 Main Street, so a little bit north of that property over there, and a big section of the woods kind of touched over there. The real question I have, a few small ones, is really the impact. I know that this is a lot about the flagging. I get it, trying to flag, delineate where it is, actually wetlands, but this may be the forum or not, maybe the committee, but the million-dollar question is, what is it going to do to not only the neighbors, but also all the existing wetlands, all the woods over there, all the property over there? What will the impact actually be? Do we know that yet? Is that proposed yet, or is it kind of like...
This is
If I may,
preliminary.
Committee know?
Yeah, it's still preliminary, we don't have a final.
Yeah, we haven't seen any plans yet.
So
No notice of
we-
intent has been filed or anything, so this is just the A-RAD.
This is, and
This is just locating
This is
the wetland
wetlands
areas
impact
and
right now.
delineating everything.
So even like with the wetlands impact, does everybody have an idea of what it will do? Like, I understand the process.
well,
We have to flag it
stormwater is
all out.
another issue.
So we have to flag it all out to even figure out where it is, to even figure out what the impact may be. But obviously in
And
experience,
to figure out setbacks as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to be.
And then once they figure all that, then they'll give us a notice of intent what they're looking to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So until we get the notice of intent, we
Still
really
wait
don't
till
know what they're
So
doing
this
with
is
the land.
very, very.
I'm jumping a little bit late to the party, I apologize.
No, no,
because I
no,
sent
no,
notice
no.
to the mail. First I heard this was actually notice to the mail, so that's why.
Everybody else understands.
I think there's a lot of new people saying thing as
Right.
well, so
That's-
we might be
So the
behind.
first meeting, we're just trying to get everything put together, like where the wetlands is, all that. The next meeting, when they come in, they'll give us a plan and by
Revised.
stormwater bylaws through town and everything. The object of those laws is to make sure that the impact of a structure does not exceed or change the impact that was already originally there. Not saying engineering works all the time, but that's
makes
the
So, yeah,
reason
we're
behind
ways
it.
from, you know,
So that was just, we just keep updated on the
that's
website.
it. You gotta
Stay tuned pretty much.
right.
I presume at least they must have an idea of what they want to put on the property or scope of it.
But we don't know.
Yeah, so
So they have
Nothing has been submitted
Right.
yet. This
So
is
they have an idea in their head what they want to build over there, but we don't know yet.
Most likely, most likely.
Most
yeah.
likely.
Because obviously if they buy the property, they must
Sure.
already have an idea, right? They're not gonna buy it and then hope they can do something with it, they must
Well,
already have.
Again, until everything is delineated and we agree upon it,
Absolutely, then they can.
nothing
can
further can.
go from there.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And there's only so
If
much
we
they can
agree.
do with it too, depending
Right,
on
there's
zoning.
a lot of, yeah.
That's other boards too, the zoning laws, different areas, you can do different stuff. So that's something you can look at.
Stormwater would be another.
So last piece, solar panels?
It does, we don't,
Based on the applicant, on the agenda, it says rewild renewables, I'm gonna assume.
Oh, so we literally have no idea.
Well,
No,
So they can be building,
I mean-
a
I
rocket
mean,
ship over there.
at this
with no idea.
point,
you
There's
know,
nothing-
reasonable
Nothing-
person would determine that it's gonna be solar. I don't,
it's, just hasn't been presented yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Can't
have,
speak on something that,
What does your shirt say?
He's an engineer.
He's an engineer.
he's a soil
I
scientist.
can't talk.
I work for Beals and Thomas. I was
He's
the
an
wetland
engineer.
I'm not,
Yeah.
not an engineer, I'm a wetland delineator, sorry. I
I'm
want to
sorry, yeah, I
yeah.
didn't mean that, yeah.
Is this, again, late to the party, is it common that we know so little about a project before? I get the
Not at
process
this
steps.
point, not at this point.
So this is uncommon that we know?
No, this is
So
not,
you're,
you know, at this point, again, nothing has been submitted.
yeah, this is a part of the process, so you're in a butter, so you were notified about this part of the process. When they file the notice of intent, you're gonna get notified for that as well. So
And
this
then
is,
you'll know exactly what they're talking,
Yeah, that's when we'll.
right,
everybody will be able to.
you have to be notified.
if it gets
We'll have
out.
all the nuts and bolts at that point.
Just so I'm clear, it's probably, but is that, in your experience, is this normal for us to, at this point in the process, is this normal for nobody to have any idea?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, let me give you an example. There was an ANRAD that we had years back at Flying Cloud Orchard. That has since expired, nothing was ever developed there. When they cut, they're gonna have to do something similar next time, so,
Okay,
Now we'll have to-
perfect, thank you,
Yeah.
all over, appreciate it very much.
no problem.
I'm seeing those people in there.
That's fine, yeah, that's good.
Any other questions, comments?
Hi, I'm Kevin Furtado, I live here,
What's your address, please?
86 Robinson Road. I have a question, how long is this process going to take?
You had something different,
Are we talking about 6 months, 6 years?
Oh, for this part, for the ANRAD, what, they filed with us, and we held off before we posted the public hearing, so that, because we knew there was gonna be back and forth with the engineers. Bill Madden represents the town, Andrew Yeoman's representing the applicant, so we sent the plans out first, so that it wasn't, when we got the filing, you got an abutter notification, and then it was just gonna be continued and continued and continued and continued, and people forget, you know, so for it to stay fresh in everybody's minds, we started the process, we passed off the plans to our engineer, and now there's back and forth going with the engineers. Our engineer had some issues on site that he wanted to have addressed, he's working on them, so it's back and forth, and once both engineers are in agreement, that's when the commission will make a final determination.
A year?
No,
I would say maybe, it could be next meeting, it could be the meeting after.
6 weeks maybe tops.
Yeah,
Now, typically, does those notices come through so vague that you have no idea what it means? Does anyone else feel the same way? You get this notification and it's Beals, and there was some company out of Scarborough, Maine,
Southborough,
you
that
know?
was our company that sent the
Beals
letter
and
notices.
Thomas.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
it said something about
yes,
that rewild.
that's
It made
it.
it seem like it was a wildlife rehabilitation place going in there or something. And it's like, till you Google it and look it up, you have no idea what it is.
right.
Thank God for
They don't tell you
Google.
what they're doing or anything, and I heard that the solar farm on the other side of us, all the electricity is going to New Hampshire. You know, so, that's what my
That's
neighbor
what they
was telling me.
do.
Is that gonna be like the same type situation here, where they're gonna put a farm in from Maine, and we're not gonna get any benefit from it all?
That's nothing to do with us.
Yeah, it's not
Again,
jurisdiction,
you know, this
maybe.
can-
Nothing to do with us,
Concerned that I'm not getting flooded out.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
know,
part of the process
Because
as well.
look what happened over on
Stormwater.
Perry Road. They put that
Yeah.
farm in and all the neighbors are getting flooded. Even with all that engineering, it didn't work. Where's our assurance that we're paying taxes and we're not gonna get flooded out by this thing going in? The people in Maine don't care about us,
Right.
but we need to care about ourselves. You know? We pay a lot of money in taxes and we don't want our land flooded out.
I agree.
Understandable.
I mean,
We got our best guy on it.
Well,
I saw him pointing out stuff all over the place here.
Yeah, those are
It makes
all-
it seem like there's wetland everywhere on this property.
There's
So I don't
wetlands in
see,
all-
yeah. there's
well, they
a
got
lot.
put one panel
So-
here, one panel here, one panel there, just to say avoid the wetlands. It seems like it's everywhere. No matter how much the engineers go back and forth, it seems to me that there's wetlands
Well,
Well, that's why we're going through this process, sir.
That's-
That's why we're going through this, so we can find the wetlands and
Right.
figure out what
We
to
want the
do.
assurance that nobody's cutting corners and doing something they shouldn't be doing. and
Well, there has been
it is
corners
what
cut
it
on
is.
this project, and there's stuff that people are doing that shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
and that's why now we're involved.
Right.
And actually, I got a few questions for Bill as soon as Bill gets up to the podium
Yeah,
regarding
someone's already coming
the
in
stuff
and
that's being
clearing
done.
land, like one of the other butters said, what's up with that?
Well,
You know?
I encourage you to come to the meetings that
Yeah, you need to
concern
stay
this project
engaged,
and voice your opinion,
Definitely.
As it
and
progresses.
anybody else.
Everything will be transparent as far as this board goes.
We're just looking for the assurances that this is gonna affect our land.
Yeah, well, right now we have to
Most
figure
people
out, they have to figure out what their wetlands are to even figure out what they can put
Right.
on the property.
That's
Because if there's too much wetlands,
Once-
then they won't even be able to do what they
Yeah,
want.
it's not-
So it's kind of like, it doesn't matter if they buy it,
Not-
they don't buy it, or you need to know what the wetland boundaries
don't
are.
know.
And all you have to do diligence, I always have trouble saying that.
Due
But,
diligence?
yeah, before you proceed with any project. So this is kind of just like the beginning of the road saying, okay, so now I have this much free acreage
Right.
that I can use.
Yeah.
I have
It's
to
only
stay
gonna be-
300 away from streams, I have to stay 150 buffer zone here. They gave me lenience over here, we can go 75. That's all stuff that needs to be worked out before they even figure out what they can put in
What the
there.
plan is.
Because I'm assuming if there's
Final
gonna be
plan.
fire lanes and stuff going around there.
All that has to be
It's all
done.
part of it, yeah.
We all have to,
ultimately.
we gotta
Yeah.
figure out what's
Right.
usable
Yeah,
before
And that's-
anybody can go forward.
that's not our.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to figure out our part.
Right, we're
It's
just one
wetlands.
one step in the process.
Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else? Any questions, comments? Bill, floor is yours.
Andrew gave a pretty concise presentation as to where we are in the project. The few areas that we talked about, that he talked about, are the areas that we presented as requiring a little bit more examination on the site. So it's just the reasonable progression of the project as it is, so that we can determine what the wetland constraints will be on the property. Once that's addressed, we'll know what usable area of the property is going to be there pursuant to the wetlands regulations, and then a project can move, something can happen with the land at that point. We're just really trying to determine what the net usable land area is on the property as it relates to the wetland resource areas that are there. There's other things that are not germane to what the conservation is going to be dealing with, but those are like zoning requirements or your zoning bylaws for a solar field and things of that nature. So those all have other components that weigh into this. And so when they examine what our net usable land area is that remains for the project, someone will have to make a decision at that point in time as to whether the project that they envision is one that fits on the site or is one that needs to be modified to fit on the site. I think if you look at an aerial photograph and you just look at it, looks like there's two big fields right there. But as you can see, the detailed examination that's being done of the property tells us a little bit of a different story. And so we're just working through those little details to come up with a conclusive net usable land area pursuant to wetlands on the lot. And Andrew has identified all the things that we pointed out, and no pushback. He's understands where we're coming from, we understand where he's coming from, and we work to accomplish the goal and get this thing wrapped up as soon as reasonably possible.
So I got a question for you. So at the edge where they cleared the land, they got a silt fence up there now. Do you think any of that land was in the wetlands where they cleared? Because if you look at the side of the woods, that is still woods, they got the wetland flags right along that silt fence. Then they cleared the property, and to me it didn't look any different. Even the materials that were in piles looked identical to what was in the wetlands. So do you think that they preached on the wetlands clearing that property?
Which, were we talking about that?
Go down the logging road.
The road. Yeah, my opinion is it looks as though there was some encroachment into the wetland areas on each side of that, and they have, I think, a B series and a C series that identify wetlands on each side of that logging road. There was, I don't know, I don't recall who mentioned it, but someone mentioned that there was a old woods road through that area at one point in time in the past. But we feel that that still should be evaluated as BVW because it is altered land.
And that was just recently filled, that road? With
Yes.
2.5, 3-inch crushed stone, is what I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed the cobbles that are in there, and I know why you.
And there was even chunks of concrete and stuff, so I know that that wasn't native.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So whatever they put in there was Brockton material. But to me, it feels like they're trying to stop that wetland from crossing over the land to go where it naturally belongs with that road.
Well,
And,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying there is a grade change though as we go through that woods road. It has a little sag in it about halfway down where it's the wettest portion, and then it inclines a bit to the rear portion of the site where that looks to be beyond a wetland resource area. I agree with you, the soils look very similar, the vegetation looks kind of similar, but when you group them all together, it doesn't qualify as BVW for that big open area out at the back. Along the roadway coming in, yes, and the only comment that I have on that roadway is it appears to me that in addition to the traveled lane or the width of the woods road itself, looks like there's some fringe work that resulted in with that roadway construction. And I would just encourage Andrew to look at that closely and make sure that we get the true perimeter boundary of that land alteration and not just limit it to the 10-foot wide or 11-foot wide that one might drive on.
And then the other issue I had is that where it looks like Moses was there and they parted that river. That looks like a dug river, like that was put in there. That ain't a natural river. Do you think that's going to affect the natural wetlands? Because that river was dug in. That's not a natural river. When I was walking in and seeing that, I could see that, it's not an existing, that's a fresh river.
Are we talking about it on that Woods Road again on the right-hand side when you walk?
So when you go down the Woods Road, it's actually on the left side, you'll see it, and it looks like I said, it's a clear path, probably 40 foot wide with a river in the middle, and it was 100% cleared out, and that river was dug in. And I'm just saying to myself, what is that going to change to the natural wetlands that they put in? That should have never been dug in, period. They made a river. And
Are you saying, like in between sheet 2 and sheet 3, right? Is that what you're talking?
So do you mean
that main one that we walked, and I said it looked like Moses potted it.
on the way back when we were
Yeah.
walking the northerly? So you're talking about an intermittent stream which flows through here, it's channelized, and it outlets over here into the pond. That's the stream that we're talking about, just for reference, right? Am I correct in pointing that out?
Sure,
It was on our walk back, right?
I saw it on the walk out.
Right, okay. So
And I said, wow, look at that, it looked like someone potted the river. And then when we were walking back is when I noticed that was not a natural river. That was dug in, someone dug that in. And I said it actually to you and to Ryan as soon as we were coming around the corner. I said, this ain't a natural. I said, somebody dug this in. Because you can see all the rough gravel, it wasn't old, it was like a fresh river that somebody dug in.
So it's a channelized feature within this BVW. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. We maintain that it's an intermittent stream. It's a jurisdictional intermittent stream inside the BVW.
Yeah, but if that was dug, that wasn't natural. That's not a natural stream.
I guess
So that's what I'm saying.
we don't have any. I don't know offhand what the history of that. If that predated the Wetlands Protection Act when the stream was excavated.
Well, that's new because you can see the gravel in it. It's like it hasn't even worn out. And so I was walking it and I'm like, oh my God, this thing is, someone dug this. At first on the way out, I was saying that stream, someone cleared both sides of the stream is what I was thinking, right? And when we were walking out to the clearing where they took down the woods, I said, okay, it looked like Moses went through here and just made a clear path. That's what I said. And then when we were coming back, I said, wait a second. I said, this river is not a natural river. Someone dug this in. This thing was dug in.
Could it be a swale?
No, it ain't a swale, man.
So I.
No, this was dug in.
Especially where it rounded that corner, you could clearly see that there was a piece of equipment in there that
You could still see the tracks
you
of
can
the
still see the
equipment.
excavator tracks up there. This is man-made, and I agree with Jimmy on this.
And what is that, so if they did a man-made intermittent stream, what does that affect to the wetlands? They're not naturally flowing like they were before that was put in.
So I'm not familiar enough with the historical conditions and how this may have changed over time. In terms of flagging the wetlands and trying to come up with an accurate boundary, we went out here, I think it was December 2023, and then the months following, flagging it out. We did not flag the stream because it's interior of the BBW. Again, still a regulated area. But in terms of the historical context of when work may or may not have occurred, I don't have an answer.
Well, I went back to 2020, I think, and that stream was not on there, it wasn't cleared out there. And I'm just looking at it saying, if they're over there customizing the land before all this gets done, the ARAD and stuff, so what is the real effect? It's like we're not getting the real effect because it's already been altered. And even the intermittent stream along the trailer park, right? There's been pine trees that have been taken down, and you're not allowed to take pine trees down right on the edge of a river or any river. And there's been pine trees taken down that are very fresh, they've been coming down. So I have a lot of concerns about this property that someone is altering it to get the most out of this property and then called us in after the fact. So we're here after the fact that someone's alterated the plans, and I just want the commission to know that this is not right. It's like, if they're making the land do what it wants, what the hell are we even here for?
Correct. I agree.
You know, so I have a lot of issues with this property. And I'm not trying to hammer you,
No, I understand.
because I was already told not to, but I did want to ask Bill. It's true, Ryan, you didn't call me about nothing.
With respect to a river, whether it's naturally occurring or man-made, it still is protectable under the Wetlands Act. So we do have a protected resource here. There no riverfront area because it is intermittent, but it still is protectable under the act.
But do you think it affected the property any, though?
I don't know.
When is that going to make any difference? I think we're getting off subject a little bit.
I don't think so, because now you're taking and you're putting in a river and directing the water that could have gone through the fields and maybe made more wetlands, Ryan. I mean, Eric.
We're just trying to identify wetlands right
I
now.
agree that it was dug. When it was dug, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I didn't see track marks.
Yeah.
It does look like, you know.
I think-
Okay, the floor's yours.
Yeah,
So,
I know someone I can talk to about it.
I'm just going to say that he is out there daily with his bulldozer, moving things around, cutting things down, and it's a continuous event every single day.
When was the last time I was out there?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you call anybody?
No, because
You
I
have-
called before, and he's way on the other side now because he knows I'm watching him.
He's altering the land. You should
He's
pick up
altering the land,
phone
right.
And make a call to the commission, to the police department.
Am I gonna call every day, though? I mean, he's
If
out
that's
there
what
every
it
day.
takes.
So he's out there every day with bulldozer. There's rocks being moved, there's giant piles of land in the middle of that field, which I'm sure whoever went out there saw. The field has been dug up, trees have been cut down. The police did come when he cut down trees right next to the brook because I was screaming that he was on the brook, cutting down and clearing a line of trees right on the waterway. And that was, I don't know whether that was last year or the year before, but it's marked whenever it was. And they had to come out and tell him to stop. He said he did not know he needed a permit. Did not know that that was wetland protected area. And then now he moved to the other side of the area to cut down stuff where I can't see him anymore. But I hear the bulldozer going all the time, and I see them coming with big chunks of rocks and all kinds of stuff and filling up the area in the middle. It's coming from somewhere on that property. So, come on, like, we're not gonna say he's not changing the landscape out there. He's changing the
Maybe
landscape.
just trying to divert his stormwater.
Do you know the guy personally? Are you
Yeah, but
friends
that
with
doesn't
him?
make any
Because
sense,
he's
Eric.
doing something under
Eric, I don't think you should make a comment on this.
Please. He's definitely doing something illegal to the wetland.
So I spoke with the landowner, I'd say, like a month ago, let him know that he had to stop. And he told me he didn't know, and a filing was coming in. So I said, okay, hold off. The filing came in, I figured it was a notice of intent, it's an ANRAD. So that's kind of where we're at with the work. I didn't know that like there was continuous work, because I told him to stop.
He does know, indeed, that he's not supposed to be doing things without filing for permits and so forth. I mean, how many times can you claim ignorance of the law, right? I mean, you...
I agree.
So,
Actually, none.
no disrespect to you, I mean, of course, but I mean, he knows he's trying to manipulate.
We haven't received any calls ever since.
So-
I spoke with them, so I mean, that's why I say it's important to make the phone call.
I will
'Cause
call.
They don't fall deaf ears, they get looked into, so.
I
And
will-
Saturday, there was fresh tracks there, from a dozer or whatever's going through
Well,
there. So who is this guy?
excavator.
I don't know.
Zach, do you know the guy?
I was hired by him, yes, I did.
Yeah. So why ain't he here defending himself?
It's not part of the
Well,
process.
it's not on the agenda, so we can ask the landowner to come in and we can make a determination on that.
I think we should.
I agree.
That's fine, I have no issue with that.
Brian, we have a question in the audience.
Go ahead, young man.
Can you stand up and say that you can?
This might be procedural. In my 10 minutes listening to the conversation, to recap, we have 2 current board members, right, who themselves are testifying that they've seen work done out there in violation and will modify the property they shouldn't be. We have an engineer that's on our side that we're paying, who gave his expert opinion, right, that he thinks that probably stuff was already encroached and moved upon, okay? We have a neighbor who has already said, again, more eyewitness testimony, saying, hey, I saw that guy doing that stuff. You made a very valid point, and I agree with you. You make a river, right, or a stream, so it doesn't flood out the property. You dry out half the property by making one stream. It's a wash, no pun intended, right? You get rid of that one piece and it dries out. Procedurally, the question is, what do we do now? I know we talk about transparency and oversight and a bunch of other stuff, but if 2 community members are testifying, the engineer says there's a problem, possibly, right, open the spot, his opinion is probably a problem there, and a neighbor says there's a problem, and we say, what? Like what are the steps from here? Like what do we, because as already mentioned, which I appreciate very much, the game is to alter the property before they call you. Except you've already caught on to it. Good, I appreciate it very much. That's what you men and women here for. But now, if you've caught on to it, well, what do we do? How can we force them to stop? Like how do we, is there any repercussions?
We can You can issue a formal cease and desist and go from there.
Or bring him in if he has an explanation for he is moving drain water, then so be it. But like, if there's, like the question really is, where do we go from here? What is the next step procedurally?
Well, I can make a motion that we do send him a cease and desist, considering he hasn't stopped since you told him to. So I think we should make that official, so I'm gonna take a motion that we do send him a cease and desist.
And I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go, he's gonna get a written cease and desist.
And then how does it work procedurally from there? If the neighbor, again, she notices, she pays attention, good, and she realizes that next Tuesday there's more work, what do we, like what are the steps? Is there any more oversight from you men and women? Like, do you guys do spot checks? Do you guys like?
Well, we got the representative of the owner right here,
Review.
Zach. We can actually hand him the cease and desist order tomorrow, in writing,
In writing.
and then we'll go from there. But, I mean, if it's real bad, we could always come up with replications, and there's other things we can do. So, I think if he's still continuing after Ryan told him to stop, the cease and desist is in order.
Yeah.
I know that we don't
Yeah.
really like putting stickers on, but I think this one deserves a sticker because he's still going.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there and see we'll talk with Bill and
Yeah.
just put all our minds together and
Once
figure
we
out
get
what's the best route.
clarification.
But there has been alternations to the land and, we could even force to go back to its normal state, I believe.
Replication.
Replication.
Yeah.
So,
See, typically,
Possible.
go with a verbal. And if somebody agrees to stop and they stop, then we proceed from there. However, when somebody tells you to kick rocks, that's when it becomes formal. That's the way I look at it.
and I agree with you.
And it appears that that's what happens.
Usually when we give a verbal, they usually stop.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep. So for them to continue is kind of a slap in our face.
Yeah, it is a slap in the face.
To the board.
Is the engineering, like, is it spot checks, if you will? Because, like,
Well-
moving forward, if he gets a letter tomorrow,
Not the engineer, no.
Okay.
The engineer's
well, I mean,
gonna,
based on the expert, if he goes back out there for the survey.
they're gonna work on the delineation, they're not gonna work
Okay.
on any kind of enforcement.
Right now, we're
Any
still in the
enforcement-
middle of the delineation of the property. But-
Beals and Thomas and our engineer are still gonna work together,
Okay.
putting up the wetland
Yeah.
flags, doing the delineation lines. So that's still gonna happen, that's part of the
needs to
ARAG.
be
But this could
first
really
and
change the NOI a lot, with him altering the land the way he did. And continue alternating it after he's been warned to stop. And that was how many weeks ago, Ryan? Couple of months at least.
Yeah, so like,
So 2 months, he's still doing work in there after a 2-month stop? Excuse me?
I said, I don't know, I'm not there, I don't think so. Chair Resendes was very clear in an email, we responded, we got some silt fence up within a couple hours, and it was made very clear, nothing happens back there. So this is news to me, but obviously I don't live with you guys.
Yeah, and like I said, when I walked it Saturday, there are fresh dozer tracks going right back down to the log road, over the grass, there was some. And I'm saying these weren't stopped, and I figured maybe they would just pull the equipment out of there, is what I thought. Because I saw the tracks going in and out, and I'm like, okay, maybe Ryan told them to stop, so now they need the equipment somewhere else, so they pull the equipment out. And that's what I thought about the tracks. But then when she's saying they're still working there, well, guess what? Those tracks mean more to, that means more to me now than it did on Saturday.
I don't live on property. I know there's only two things I can think of. There's a solar project being built right behind it on the white land. There's a cul-de-sac with a solar project being constructed off Robinson Road.
Which wouldn't be on that grass?
No, I'm just saying from noises, right? There's
Yeah.
one right back there. And there was some notice from the landowner that the Plymouth County mosquito was in the area. So I don't know what's going on, but there's the only two things I heard. But like I said, Chair Resendes sent an email with me copied. No shovels, no nothing back there, and to my knowledge, nothing's happened. But if that's not being followed, then I'm not defending anyone.
okay.
You got me on the nay on that, right?
What's that?
Say that again,
I
Eric?
was making sure she had me as a nay.
Nay on what?
On the vote.
On
we
the,
don't
uh,
talk.
Cease and
Yeah.
desist.
Oh,
Yeah, just you, Eric, everybody
Yeah,
else in favor?
I was
Todd, give me the hand.
I do have one more question. So, listening to everyone talk, that you do believe that this was kind of dug out to make, now, examining the land on each side of it, can you determine how much was dug out? By sampling the soils on each side of what's missing, can you kind of figure out how much was taken out to create that river, or whatever you want to call that?
Well, that's really hard to determine, but that river's right down the middle of a wetland area already. So what, my own personal opinion, he stopped it from going into the field with that river. And what he did is he put it right down the center of a wetland area.
But if we want to
Am I correct by saying that, Bill?
We can't.
That little river, if it was dug in, it was put right down the middle of a wetland area?
Well, until we have that whole
Yeah, I'm not gonna speculate exactly what happened,
But in
but
order to repair it, we would need to know how much was removed so that can be put back, so we can get an actual picture of what this land was before it was altered to pull the wool over your eyes.
You can go back on maps,
Yeah,
Google
that is
Maps and a
possible.
lot of
Yeah, no,
maps.
that's
Near
possible.
map,
Yeah, that's possible.
Near map will take you back to like 2017,
You can, you can
2018.
go-
Because it would seem that the fair thing to do would be to have that put back how it was, let the rain, everything hit it, let everything grow like it normally would, and see where it truly would be,
That's not how it works,
so that we could see what is really wetland and what really isn't wetland, the variegated wetland, whatever. Because right now, we're working on a fake picture of what it truly is, because they've altered it.
That discussion will be on our next agenda.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, any final comments?
We got someone standing up?
I just done.
Oh, all right.
No, I don't have anything further to add. We're just continuing to work with Beals and Thomas on the delineation, and expect it to move forward and get it done in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. So, Andrew, you're requesting a continuance?
Yeah, we're requesting a continuance to the next scheduled meeting, so I believe that's 2 weeks out.
Right, yeah, May 22nd. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue to our next meeting, May 22nd.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's continued to the next meeting.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Do you
Okay,
need to close the public hearing?
No,
what's that?
we'll
Do you need to
continue.
close the public?
Oh, no, it's continued.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next on the agenda, stormwater. Navison, 550 Main Street, peer review update, review of matters presented, votes may be taken.
Bill's working hard tonight.
Okay, Navison, 550 Main Street. Today I was speaking with the engineer from Meridian Associates. He sent down to us one of the drainage calculations and things like that. We've just really done it. Steve. We're working on, I did a quick review of the plan. There's some comments that we have to make on it. We think it lacks a little detail that we really need to know on the site. And when I spoke to the engineer Meridian today, he didn't have any problem with putting that on there. So I have the drainage calculations. I do have some questions on it. They're a little bit more technical than I think you probably want to hear at this point. But one of the major things is like with the outlet control structures that they have here, there's a note on the plan saying that they're using design criteria. And my first question is like, which design? Because there have been several on the site, and I think that he needs to identify what they're actually using as the design. And that's fine, but I want I think we need the as-built information. If we're going to be retaining those structures, those water control structures in each one of those drainage basins, let's have the true elevations of things. That's one of my comments when he had his overflow spillways and when he placed his level spreaders and things. Given the fact that the contractors that have been working out there, I don't know what they understand or misunderstand or whatever, but I think when you have a number written on a plan, it's easier to achieve that goal other than meeting that number, as opposed to just saying, oh, well, I thought this was good enough.
Oh, no, it should be on plans, I agree.
Yeah, so that's where we are with him on it, and but the drainage calculations, when I started to look through those today, there's a couple of things in there that we need to address with them. And before I talk about the details of things, because we don't know if they're going to end up that way. We don't know if the project is going to end up with the same size orifices, say, on the outlet control structures that they're planning for now, or we're going to go with another one. So it doesn't really make a lot of...
So is this the new engineer you're working with?
Yes. Yeah. So that's where we are with that. I want the drain. We have the drainage areas. There's a new drainage basin being put in there. Drainage basin 1, which flooded the neighbor out previously, it causes as well an issue. His little fire pond an issue. Really need to know where the limitations of everything are, particularly at that location, just so that we can avoid any adverse impact to the abutter. I mean, that's the goal, is to mimic the pre-development conditions. And when that field was, when it was what it was originally, there didn't appear to have this drainage problem. So
Well, that was all woods, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So they took all the loom down, took everything down, all the trees out, and now it becomes just everything washing everywhere.
The natural so.
Yeah, and there was a little of an issue with the, the actual conditions that exist during construction. Because typically we'll do a pre-development drainage calculation, and then we'll do the post-development drainage calculation. So we'll take it the way it is today, and we'll analyze that, and then we'll take it as it's completed, and we'll analyze that. But the regulations don't require us to analyze what happens in between. And the in-between period of time is really the period of time where you can get the most negative results on any construction site, because there's no vegetation, there's a lot of exposed soils. We're not really thinking about those things with the pre and post drainage calculation. So it's really incumbent upon who's ever working on the site to really be in tune with their stormwater management plan, the erosion control plan that's in place, and then they have to be executed essentially to perfection so that we don't have any adverse impact on the neighbors. Then that's really, I think, what the major issue was, and that's one that's been struggling to, they've been struggling to remedy that situation. So that's where we are now. It's going to take me a little bit more time to get through that drainage.
Right, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Guys, hello everybody.
Hey.
Steve Campbell, Navasson. I appreciate everything you're saying, yeah, and we'll work through it. I told you we were going to fix this. We've been trying to fix it. It went a little bit longer than we thought it was. We're trying to get this right? We don't want to have to mess around with this. What I would ask is, and I think we've all understood this through sidewalks and everything like that, what we're trying to do is alleviate a lot of the water that's going to the north and to the northwest, and trying to capture it and discharge it to the south, which is why we're increasing the size of that basin in the southwestern corner. I think everybody, and I think you would agree,
yes,
with the swale, Meridian's proposing to beef up the swale so we capture more, get it flowing in the right direction. I think what Bill is saying is we need to get into the details on those two northern and western basins to finalize everything, which I'm fine about. The only thing I'm concerned about, what I would ask tonight, is if we're okay with the concept, if I could start grading the expansion of the bigger basin. And here's why. I want to start growing grass, because I do not want to go into the summer without growing grass. So I'd like to start pushing some dirt around on that northern basin, get that drainage swale in the middle of the site, increase the 6 inches, which is what Meridian says. I'll pay for Bill or whoever to come out and inspect as construction goes along. I think we lucked out a little bit here that the coolness pushed a little bit, so we have a window here. I want to get the earth down, I want to get some loam down, and I want to get some grass growing out there. And then what we're fixing then is the details around the outlet control, making sure those are right, make sure all the details are right on the elevations. I think we're all in agreement that outlet control, level spreaders on both the northern and the western bases help. The original design just had them blasting out, so we're going to spread it out a little bit better. I agree we can look at the inlet controls and make sure we have all the elevations right, but I am really concerned about grass not growing. And so I want to try to potentially just start moving some earth around and getting that basin at least rough formed, and if we need to do it a little bit, then we're spot treating. But I'd like to get some of that. That would be my only request. And I don't have a problem coming back in 2 weeks or working with Bill over the next couple of weeks to get get a final sign off. I'm going to keep doing everything.
My own personal opinion is we go by a consultant.
Okay.
And whatever Bill recommends,
Yeah.
I think is what we should go, but that's my own.
And with that earthwork that Steve's talking about doing, I think the plan needs to be provided with a little more detail so we know what the grading has to be. It's an 80 scale plan, the grading is shown in that. I wouldn't want to leave it up to a contractor to finish off how that grading's got to be for that.
I can get it. I'll get it.
So he should.
We'll get a blow up tomorrow.
Right. And we talked about that today.
Yeah.
So I was on the same page with Meridian with that.
All right, Bill, well, we're going to go by what you're thinking, Bill.
Yeah, that makes.
No,
You're the man.
We'll get it right.
Mr.
Yep.
Souza, all I'm saying is I don't want to lose 2 weeks, and if I do,
Sure.
and I have to go into summer, and
2 weeks.
2 weeks is a lot of issue right
Yeah,
now.
it's about right.
We need to get this done. So if we can do this, if Bill and I can work with something, we get a plan that he then says, yeah, okay, I think we're good on the grading. I think that might, that's all I'm asking. And usually I'd be fine, come back in 2 weeks and get it approved, but 2 weeks right now, I don't want to go and miss the growing season.
And I think the growing season, like a June 15th date is one of the dates that we just happen to use on plans when we do our summer and spring seeding. It's usually like approaching the drop dead date. So I like to view it that there's probably about 30 days to get all this stuff done. So between the engineering and physical work, I think there's adequate time to get it to a point where we can be successful with the vegetation that's being planted there. And you gotta have a robust planting plan. It's gotta include some topsoil, some good seed, some fertilizer, and some cover to keep the seed in place. However they're gonna do it. I mean, the seed needs to stay in place to grow, whether you hydro-seeded or...
I'm not arguing any of that. I've told this board, I've told this whole town, that I'm here to fix what is here. I don't want to create another problem by trying to fix it and then go through the summer with something.
Sure, I'm in agreement with what you said, Jimmy, that, you know, if he works that out with GAF, I don't see why we can't be on board with that.
Okay. Yeah, we want to make sure that it's large enough,
right?
Too. So we got to really check in on the calculation and stuff.
You want to put all those.
Yeah, so when Bill sees plans that he signs off on.
Right. Yep. I'm comfortable with that.
I have no problem with going with what Bill's recommendation is.
Do I have to come back here?
I would say no.
I don't see why.
I say we go based upon,
I'll come back at the end and say we're done and just tell her, or I can, Ryan, you and I are talking.
Bill is basically,
I can keep
our representative.
You got a commission member right there per se, Bill's there for us, and he's gonna be right there watching and seeing, and I do really respect the way Bill's saying it's also about the contractor. Because it doesn't matter what it says on the plan, if the contractor don't build it properly, it don't mean crap.
Right.
You know?
I just want to be clear, I'll pay for him to come out and look, inspect all this inspection, I'm fine, I want to do this right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, we just want to get, collectively as a group, that's the objective, is to get a functioning drainage basin.
And I do want to say Meridian wanted to be here, but they were coming down from Beverly, they left at 4:45, and at 5:45, they were only in Lexington, so.
Oh, boy, that was a nice ride there. Yeah, that was good,
Sitting in pouring torrential traffic.
Yeah, Beverly to Lexington,
for a motion.
nothing more fun than that.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
right?
Neither do I.
We're relying on Bill's.
Right, we get this,
Yeah, so, I think we're all in agreement.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think,
Yeah.
All right, Bill, you got it in your pocket, keep an eye out for it.
All right, so we're all good. Once he signs off and issues a letter to you guys that we're good, we're good.
I'm kidding, believe me.
No, you just have to do it anyways. It all needs to be
He's
done.
been trying like hell, I know that.
We'll get it. Thank you. Okay, thanks very much.
Has anybody else said anything?
That's a good point
About
about the issues. Have you gotten any calls,
Since you got the one on.
I got the one and I told them we would be here tonight and got one here.
That was the
so.
last one, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anybody here from Scotts right now?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay. Because I think, like, over at Q1 in that February, March time, we had, again, because we weren't having rain, we were having 2 or 3 inches of rain during Q1.
Yeah.
We're back to 3/4 of an inch.
Normal.
Even today was a quick period, but it was a lot of rain.
Yeah, it did.
So again,
we
we want to fix this and we want to get it done so that when we get back to that.
I had got that. Yeah, I had got that complaint. I emailed the resident and gave her your email.
Yep.
And I had sent it, because it was starting a new thread, so I sent it to Selectman Hinckley, and Selectman Hinckley said Steve already sent it to me, so.
Yeah.
That's how transparent Steve is with the town, so that's a testament.
Well, my father always said, if the principal knows your name, either you're real bad or you're real good. I don't think you were real good, Bill.
I started not so good, but I think I'm okay now. You tell me the other one, so, all right, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay, other business, any other business that may properly come before the commission not reasonably anticipated within the last 48 hours prior to the meeting. Received an email from, is it Dave for that?
Dave for that, yes.
Dave for that. regarding 185 Mattapoisett Road. Had some changes to the plans, and there's a question whether or not he needs to file for an amendment, or if he can proceed with changes to the plans and then file them with the as-built.
As-built?
Yeah, at the
Yeah,
end.
well,
So, I mean, we can put it on the next agenda and
Yeah.
discuss it.
right,
Yeah,
review it, right?
I say we'll just put it on the next agenda.
That makes sense,
Just, just under discussion.
yeah.
You want him here?
Do we need him to,
I mean, it's,
Somebody's gonna have to show you.
well, I mean, that's what I'm
What's the
asking,
changes? yeah.
right? Are we gonna,
yeah, I'd like to put it in front of the commission. I don't really want to give my opinion on it. We'll,
yeah, you're better off.
we'll,
You don't need a site visit, but you'd like.
No.
to-
no, we don't need a site visit,
No.
just a comparison of the two
Yep.
plans.
Right,
I think that would be good, and then we'll make that a commission's decision.
determine, yeah,
Yeah,
determine.
whether-
Okay, so I'll tell Dave for the next meeting,
Yeah, I
22nd.
think that's the best way to go.
Bring in before plans and the plans that he has proposed.
Okay, future business. The next meeting for the Conservation Commission will be on May 22nd, 2024. We have executive session. Executive session under General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to pending.
Get rid of our meeting first, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, we can do it joint. We can
Okay.
make a motion to make it regular. To discuss strategy with respect to pending litigation, Sincarfa Park Drive LLC. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, and the commission will not return to public session. At the conclusion of executive session, votes may be taken. Also, executive session under General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to pending litigation, Morse's Lane Solar 1 LLC. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, and the commission will not return to public session. At the conclusion of executive session, votes may be taken. I will entertain a motion to leave regular session and enter executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote.
Aye. Douglas Thomas,
James Souza.
Brian Resendes, aye.
Everett Fella, aye.
Eric Cabarrus, aye.
Christian D'Souza, aye.
Okay, we are now in executive session.